All right, so my daughter is at jiu-jitsu, and I'm going to give you an update on my son and a couple of funny stories from the real estate investing world. So, update on my son. So, he was discharged from the hospital on Saturday, was able to go home. We had birthday on Sunday for him, turned 14. Yay! It was nice. But then that evening, he started throwing up again, and then all day Monday. And here we are on Tuesday, went back to the doctor, and it's just like, oh, more of the same. So they don't know what it is. He has clean labs, his blood is fine, is normal. They did a throat scope on him, they did an MRI, they did a CAT scan, they did all these things, and everything came back normal. And he's experiencing intermittent pain in his abdomen area. Nothing like sharp, but just like everywhere. But the thing when they did the scope, they found was that he had fluid in his stomach, and he'd been fasting for like 8 hours. And so they drained about 4 ounces. So he may have like a slow gut that's like not like fully like processing stuff, because he hasn't had a bowel movement in a small one last night, and he hasn't gone pee like except for like once in the morning or last night at 7 p.m. This is when I was with him today at the doctor at like noon, so I haven't talked to him since then. But it's just weird. So I took him to In-N-Out. He kept In-N-Out down. He just had fries and a double, and he kept that down. And then he drank his soda afterwards. I told him just to sip it, but he drank it like an hour later. So like, hey, like we're telling him like eat your food, because he'll keep the solids down, but as soon as liquid hits, it comes up. So he did that, and he was able to, like I said, keep the food down for about an hour and a half. He had some soda, it was fine. And then I told him to go upstairs and take some medicine. So he goes upstairs, and the motion to go up the stairs caused him to throw up. So weird. So weird. So that's the update with him. We really just don't know. It's kind of like a waiting game. So we're going to see if we can get him in to see a GI specialist and do like I guess a test where they just like dietary test where they see where everything goes and where it blocks and stops and stuff like that. So that's with him. Thanks everyone for your thoughts and prayers on him. Really do appreciate that. Kind of sucks. He graduates from junior high next year or next week, and he's missing out on so much of like year-end stuff with his friends. And he's okay. He's clear to go back to school because he's not contagious, because he doesn't have any symptoms like no fever, no diarrhea, other than just the vomiting when he eats. That's it. But I don't blame him. He's embarrassed. He's like, I don't want to go there and like hang out with my friends. Like, oh, hang on. Oh, hey guys, how you doing? Like doesn't want to do that. Like I wouldn't want to do that either. Like I get it, but so it sucks. Like he's missing his sports banquet tonight because they're all going out to dinner, and he's like, I don't want to be the only one not eating there. It's not fun for him. So it just sucks, It's like, it's one of those things. But anyway, so that's what's going on there with him. Funny stories now. So missed a whole week of work yesterday or last week, and so I'm just catching up. And which one do I want to tell you first? I'll tell you this one. So we closed on a property, and we own this property, and it got transferred into a trust and all of this stuff. And we finance, or we reinstate a lot of loans that are delinquent, because we buy foreclosures, and we buy them in the pre-foreclosure stage before they go back to the bank. And sometimes people inherit properties and they have to go through the probate process. So we fund all of that stuff. That's what we do. So we funded this property, and we went through the entire probate process, got everything done, and then what we did was we transferred to our name into our trust after the probate, and we wired the money. Well, the trustee who is running the auction goes, this is a flagged account. And we're like, flagged account? So we call him up, like, what's going on? Like, this is a flagged account. You apparently have been wiring way too many properties. And truth be told, I think we have, like, in the last year or so, like, done 60 properties this way with this one particular lender. Like, we've done quite a few. And with this lender and their subsidiaries and trustees, all this other stuff. So anyway, we're flagged, but my partner's a broker, and he's like, no, we're a broker, this is what I do. I go after foreclosures, and I help people. We reinstate all the time, of course. And it's like, yeah, then using my funds, my money to reinstate. When I said, hey, we bought this property, it was like, yeah, didn't need all the details about our business model. However, it's been flagged. So I'm like, all right, so call the loan company. Everything's legit, done above par. And so this woman is deceased. We have her daughter with us. Her daughter calls in, and so she's there on the phone. She gives us she doesn't even give us authorization because we don't get that far. And we had already sent over all the documentation that we needed to the trustee, and the trustee forwarded to the lender, supposedly. And so they have the trust, they have the probate docs, they have all this stuff. So the successor, everybody that's on board. And we call the loan company, and the loan company is like, they won't give us what's called a reinstatement amount. They won't give us the amount that we need to reinstate this loan. So we're like, okay, well, based on the last mortgage statement that we had, it was like, X amount of dollars. So we overshot that by $7,000. So we threw $7,000 more on top of it, and it should be like no problem. And so they say, oh, no, that's too little. You need more. And we're like, okay, well, how much more? Well, we can't talk to you. Okay, fair enough. This goes to auction. By the way, we funded everything. We owned it. It's closed on it. We closed escrow, everything last week. And it was to auction on Friday. And so, on the 29th, so on Thursday. So we're like, all right, well, this is going to auction, and this is, a property that this person is calling on behalf. She's like, look, this was my mom's home. I've gone through the court process. I'm trying to save it. They have funded the money they had upfront the money in order to help me save this property. Can you help me here? And like, nope, absolutely not. Because you're not authorized. We're like, we've already given you this documentation. So anyway, we escalate it, and they transfer us to some person. And this is the craziest thing. So this particular loan company here, it goes to this manager, Gail, and Gail is she's the manager and the supervisor. So we're like, hey, Gail, we're not asking for any personal information. We've already wired $27,000. We understand that it's short, so someone has already given us information that the amount that we sent wasn't enough. If we were to send another 5 to make it 32,000, would that cover? We don't need to know the exact amount. If it's over, it's okay. All we need is a yes or a no, so we can send the other 5. And she's like, I'm sorry, I can't tell you that. And I'm like, fair enough. Okay, why not? Well, because we don't have your documentations. We're like, well, we have done this, and we sent this to your attorney. She's like, that's not my attorney. And I'm like, this is the trustee who is foreclosing on the property, who came out to the property and put a note on the door and said that they are the trustee and they are representing the bank. She's like, that's not who we have. I don't know who you think this is, but that's not the bank. I'm like, here's the documentation. And so this loan company is just like not playing any games. And I'm like, okay, this is going to go to sell here on Thursday, and we're into this property. Right now we're into it $27,000 plus attorney fees. Like we're into it close to $40,000 here. And so Gail is like, no. And I'm like, well, apparently we're not talking to the right person, because I got on the phone and I'm like, Gail, can we have a courtesy postponement for 1 week just to figure this out while you look for our documents that you don't have? And she's like, no, you cannot do that. I'm like, how come? She's like, because I don't have the authority to do that. I'm like, okay, fantastic. Who has the authority that we can talk to? Well, that is the loss mitigation department, the foreclosure department. Fantastic. Can you please forward me to them so I can explain the situation, and they can go ahead and basically give us a courtesy of an extension of 1 week. This is the first auction anyway, so it's the first auction date that we've come up against. Can you give us this courtesy? She's like, no, and I'm not going to transfer you. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, why? She's like, because I approve all foreclosure extensions. I'm like, wait. You approve them, Gail? She's like, yes. I'm like, well, then why can't we're asking for a courtesy here. Can you just please let us have a courtesy extension for 1 week while we get these documents to the right parties? Because apparently they haven't made it to you, even though your foreclosing attorney says that they have. And she's like, no, it has to go to the foreclosure department, and they have to submit the request in writing, and then I either approve or deny. And so I'm like, Gail, if we were to talk to the foreclosure department and they were to submit this in writing, would you approve or deny the extension? And she's like, well, you're not going to talk to the foreclosure department. I'm like, why not? She's like, because I'm not going to transfer you to the foreclosure department. I'm like, Gail, why are you keeping this house from us? Why are you trying to prevent us from having this house? She goes, because I don't think you are who you say you are. I'm like, this is the person, like, she's right here in front of us. She's like, this was my mom's house. Like, I have the court documents here. We've already scanned them and faxed them to you and emailed them to everybody. And she's like, well, I don't have them in front of me. So then I'm like, you know what? Screw this shit. So and by the way, she's like, when we first got on the call, she's like, your call's being recorded for quality assurance. So I'm like, click. My iPhone has this little like fancy little dancy thing that says record call. So I start recording the call. And I'm like, Gail, I think I need to record this call to protect our interest in this property here. And she's like, you cannot record me. I'm like, of course I can. You're recording this for quality control. I'm recording this for my own protection as well. She's like, you may not. And then of course it's like, the call's now being recorded. Like this like sweetest voice. She's like, that's it. I'm terminating the call. I'm like, Gail, why would you terminate the call? We were talking to you and you are definitely don't have our best interest in mind. You're trying to keep this property from us. You want this to go to foreclosure. You're trying to take it from us. We've asked you kindly if you could just go ahead and give us a 1-week extension while you look for the documents that we legally have been through the court system. She's like, bye. I don't have to talk to any of you guys. And she hangs up the phone. I'm like, oh my God. Like this is the kind of stuff that happens with people when they go through this foreclosure process. And it's so frustrating. It's so absolutely asinine. So of course, call back. We don't get Gail. We just get, hey, my mom just died. I have some documentation showing that I'm the successor of this property. I went through the court process. What's the email address I need to send it to? They gave it to us. So we send it over. I'll call back tomorrow morning and we'll get it all squared away. Like, I'm not worried about this at all. But this is the stuff that homeowners go through that is so ridiculous, so frustrating, because these banks just don't want to work with people. They clearly don't have your best interest in mind. And then when you get a supervisor, you get someone like Gail. And I have the recording, that little snippet. I think what I'm trying to do is try to, maybe in another post, just do a screen record and you can hear the audio, and then I'll just post it. It's like only like 22 seconds before she hangs up on us. So that's the crazy part here. All right, another thing. So if you remember back where we did an eviction and the guy got taken advantage of, he got sold a property that wasn't, somebody else sold him a property that wasn't theirs to sell. Well, we ended up buying that property. We closed on that property. We held all of this stuff for 21 days. It kept coming back. And so we finally cleared all of it out. The house is completely clean. We're getting ready to do renovations and a guy wants to buy it from us. He's like, dude, I want to buy the house right now. And we're like, it's a good property. And he's like, no, he's like, I will buy it for X amount of dollars. I'm like, that's a 6-figure payday for just holding a property for less than a month and doing a clean out on it. He's probably watching, which is totally fine. And that's what we do. So I'm like, do we want to do this? Do we not want to do this? You know, a 6-figure payday for nothing, or a larger 6-figure payday for a couple months worth of work. It's one of those, you know, flip of a coin kind of thing. So the problem with why we didn't pull the trigger immediately is this fraudulent guy who sold the property, who didn't have a right to sell it, also put solar on the property. And this is a solar company out of Roseville. And what they did everything through DocuSign. No verification of documents, no copies of driver's license, nothing at all. So this guy claimed to be the homeowner, and not the guy who we evicted, but the guy who sold the house to the guy that we evicted. Basically did all the DocuSign, came to his email address, some bogus phone number, all of this stuff, and he signed everything, and it never got paid, ever. And so there's an outstanding balance. The total balance is $30,000. Outstanding balance of payments is $10,000. So if we brought it current for $10,000, the balance would be $20,000, and just go forward and making payments on it. The problem is because it's so outstanding and no payment has ever been made, that this loan is not assumable. They want to let the new owner transfer and take it over, which is so unheard of, because every other house that we've purchased, we've always been able to take over the existing payments on the solar loan. But because it was never paid for at all, no payments ever been made, they want to be paid off in full, and rather than restarting over someone new. Well, we're like, look, these are your two options. We will either just bring it current, pay the $10,000, and then we can go ahead and just start making the payments, which is like $160 a month, and the new buyer can take over and have all of that. Or we will start a fraud investigation, and well, they're like, you can't do that. I'm like, of course we can. This is fraud. So we go through this whole process where they're like, nope, not assumable, nothing at all, paid in full, pay in full, pay in full. So finally, all right, cool. So we get the old owner, and she's like, that's not mine, I never did this. And we're like, okay, fine. To the solar company, provide us a documentation that you have, that you did your due diligence to verify the homeowner was the homeowner. And they gave us a DocuSign contract. We're like, here it is. It went to her email. We're like, that's not her email. I don't even know whose email this is, but that's not her email. And what other documentation do you have that verifies her with the actual wet signature that this is what she wants? Nothing, absolutely nothing. So we now go to the fraud department of this particular solar company in Roseville, and they opened up their quote-unquote investigation 14 days ago on May 14th. Here we are, May 28th, and he hasn't done anything. So we call him today, and we're like, hey, we would like to get an update on this. He's like, well, what's the update that you would like? Well, where are we at? Well, we're still gathering some information. Well, what more information do you need to make a decision? Well, when we gather enough information, we will then make a decision whether or not we want to pursue this. And what happens then? Well, if we have enough information that we want to pursue this, and then what we'll do is we will draft a documentation to go to the fraud department, and they will then investigate that, and then we will let you know. And I'm like, what's that time frame? Well, it's a couple of weeks to a couple of months. A couple of weeks or a couple of months for what? For you to submit it or for them to review it? Well, it's just that, a couple of weeks and a couple of months. And I'm like, excuse me? So we get a three-way call with the original owner, and she comes on. She's like, look, I've already told you this before. That's not my loan. I never asked for this loan. I never asked for solar. I never signed anything. I never requested you guys to come out and put solar on a house that I owned as a rental. I never did any of this stuff. And if you cannot provide any kind of documentation showing otherwise, I want you to come and remove it. And we're like, well, they're like, we don't remove it, and it's on your credit, so you need to pay it, kind of a thing. So then I'm like, this guy is such a jerk. Like he's like, so I said, what is your next step? He's like, well, my next step is to just look and see if there's any other information that I may need to get. And I'm like, he's like, what other information do you need? He's like, well, I don't know, I have to look and see. Well, you've had this for 2 weeks now. What have you done? Well, I was waiting for you guys to call me back and see what you guys were going to do, if you're going to pay it off. I'm like, no, you knew that we were not going to pay it off, and you knew that it was fraud. He's like, well, I don't know that. You're alleging that it is, but I don't know that. And so what's your next step? And we're like, our next step is to actually file a lawsuit and to sue you and your company for slandering our title and not doing your own due diligence on this property to make sure that you actually had the rights to encumber this property in this way. They filed it. He's like, well, we have a UCC1. Well, we can also file UCC3 and get it removed. So there's other options there. And so again, I asked the guy, I was like, so what is your plan? He's like, well, we're just going to look into this a little bit more. And what does that mean exactly? Well, I assure you that we're doing the best we can with everything that you've provided us. And I'm like, I want to know exactly what the time frame is. He's like, I assure you that we will get this resolved as fast as possible as the policy permits. I'm like, oh, that is the policy now. So what does the policy say? Well, the policy says that it is a matter of precedent for us to research and look into it, and if we find that it's a just situation, that we can send it off to the fraud department. Okay, and how long is the policy? He's like, I told you that this is going to be taken with care, and it's definitely going to happen as fast as the policy allows and permits. I'm like, well, how fast is that? As fast as the policy is. Can you please send me this policy so I can look at what it is? He's like, I'm sorry, it's an internal document. I'm like, oh, so it's an internal policy. Who writes the policy? Oh, it's a policy not to tell you who writes the policy. I'm like, this sounds like bullshit. It's like, sir, it's our policy. If you cuss one more time, then I have to terminate the phone call. I was like, really? My policy is when I get pissed, I like to fucking cuss. Do you have a problem? Sir, I'm gonna have to terminate this phone call right now because it's our policy. And I'm like, wow. And I go, who does this benefit? For you to drag your feet, for you just to be so inept and so, I mean, he's not inept, he's very skilled at what he does. His job is to just talk circles about nothing, just nonsense. And he goes, why would it benefit me anything, or the company anything, for us not to investigate this? I'm like, I'll tell you exactly who it benefits. It benefits you guys, because you're not out $30,000. You're not out all this equipment. You're not out all these loan payments. That's exactly who it benefits, and why you would drag your feet and just make people so frustrated that they just give up and just pay you, or refinance the house or whatever, but eventually you get paid. I said, that's who it benefits. And I know exactly what you're doing here, and this is not going to work. Well, I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but the policy is, and I'm like, yeah, the policy is you're going to get your ass sued. And that's what happened. So kind of frustrating situations, but kind of funny too. I'm like, this is like such crazy shit that happens with real estate. And it's so frustrating, because I can see how a normal everyday homeowner would be like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. And they just give up. And these companies are just bullies. They just bully people into submission by being like, Gail, I'm sorry, I'm not going to transfer you. And no, I'm not going to approve it, but I am the person who can approve it, but I'm not going to approve it. Or this guy's name is Jeff. Jeff, he's like, well, I assure you that the policy is, I'm doing everything I can within the policy limits. He sounded like he came from the insurance department from somewhere, like some insurance company. He's like, I'm doing everything the policy allowed me. It's the policy's fault. Like, I wish I could help you more, but this damn policy won't let me help you. And I'm like, God, they must think that people are so stupid that they just believe this stuff. And some people do, unfortunately, they just do. So yeah, that's what's happening. So just to recap, my son is healthy in all respects, as far as like eliminating anything major that could be there, like blunt force trauma, cancer, blockages, things like that. There's just some abnormality why he's just vomiting after he drinks liquid. So don't know there. Gail, we got you, girl. We're gonna call in tomorrow. We already got your documents there. We'll probably get to another supervisor. We won't get to Gail, and we'll get the numbers that we need, and we'll go ahead or we'll just shoot it over another $5,000, and they won't be able to resist at that point that we've overshot it, which we've had to do before. And then with this loan, it's kind of a tough situation. It's like a balancing act. Like, what do we want to do? Do we want to go ahead and file a lawsuit? We're already in so many lawsuits. It's like second nature. But it's like, what do you do? $10,000, but they won't let us reinstate. They want a whole thing paid off. So it's like, if this was my company and I committed fraud, I'd be like, yes, $10,000, give it to somebody else and let them go ahead and make the payments. Like, all day long, that's what I would have done. That's what I would have done. Like, I would have accepted the $10,000 and started payments over. That's not a logical thing for this guy or his company. So I get it, but to demand $30,000, no. We're definitely going to go to distance on this one. And it was fraud. It's pretty easy. They don't have any documentation to say that this was this person. They have nothing, not even a wet signature from her. And never collected her ID, nothing at all. And I don't know. Like, I don't know of any place that doesn't collect this information from people. So solar companies are shady. They're so shady. And this one's a local one. It doesn't surprise me. Right out of Roseville. And they're just preying on people that are just, ignorant in this regard. So that's what's going on. So anyway, that's my update for y'all. I know it's a long one. I'm kind of long-winded. You just see my podcast. Like, some of my podcasts, we just go for like 3 hours just talking, which is why I have to break them up into segments. But anyway, I love to hear my own voice. Yes, it sounds so good. Hope you enjoyed.